Hi, this is Dan from Anomaly, and you are experiencing Poppet's Corner.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Poppet's Corner. I'm really super excited to have the guest for today's episode, the one and only Dr. Death of Goreatorium and a few other bands which we will get into. Doctor, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing very, very well. Over here live at the headquarters, Goreatorium headquarters. Um, this is where it all began.
Absolutely, which we will get into. So let's not spoil anything just yet. But how I like to get started with these kinds of interviews is I like to go through, pretty much just start from the beginning with you and just ask, when was one of your first recollections of maybe just hearing music for the first time, and kind of what was the band that did it for you?
Well, me, I would say I was a toddler, and it was Twisted Sister. We're not gonna take it, and just him, in that whole like music video with his hair wild. It just you know it gave me that calling, like, yes, this is who I am,
And
metal.
what age were you during this time?
I think I was 5, brother. Like, I was little, and my mom would play like the Beatles, and she'll play like Michael Jackson and stuff. But just seeing that, and then afterwards, Kiss, just how they were live, just that whole like live vibe, really like, okay, then there's a lot more than just Beatle haircuts, or yeah.
And how were you discovering these, through MTV, or your mom showing you records, or your friends, or how were you discovering kind of the heavier style of music around this
Well,
time?
as a kid, it was more that stuff, right? And then as I went into middle school, you would hear your friends, hey, here, I made you this mixtape, whatever it is. Uh, ninth grade high school was like, here, you know, here's the first mixtape, and then like from there, it's like, whoa, who's this band? Unholy Grave, or Brujeria, or like a lot of bands from Mexico, um, actually all over the world, just you know trading mixtapes. So then I started going to shows, and I would buy vinyl. And one of my earliest records was the house. What's it called? House by the cemetery.
Mortician?
7-inch, yeah. And got into that. I got into Cannibal Corpse. So you begin with like the softer side, right? Twisted Sister, and then you move on to Slayer, Metallica, right? The big four, and from there, you just begin evolving, right? You hear like growls for the first time, and you're like, oh man, they're like giving me a headache, But then, like you get used to that stuff, and then you want more and more. So then, you actually crave more faster music, extreme music.
And where were some of the shows you were going to? Let's back up just a tad. And you said you were just going to shows and whatnot. I'm just kind of curious, some of the venues that you were kind of seeing these shows at.
Well, I was a kid, so I was in high school. So we would go to house gigs, a lot of house gigs. So like we would see Nema play. We would see a lot of like grindcore bands, who were just beginning at the time. And it was a lot of influence from all that. Nukem would be one too. Just that whole like fast music, in your face. Everybody's young, everyone's your age, right? And because like no one's old enough in order to be able to go to bar shows yet, right? So it's mostly house gigs. If I was able to go like to all ages shows, it would be like with my uncles. So my uncles were into like rock and Mexican rock and roll. So then I would go see whoever it is that like they were into at the time.
Now, is there a correlation with you personally? Is there a correlation with the Mexican rock, as you say, compared to the metal? Like, do you get something from obviously either side, and kind of what is that difference of feeling for you?
Also, me, like I grew up. My dad's Mexican. My mom is from El Salvador, so I learned their language first. So I learned each one it is similar, but they have like different like dialects, right? And so the music is different. Comes out a little more urban, and I don't know, like that's what I was into in the beginning. Yeah, a lot of like what do you call it? Latin American metal.
And where's the influence, like, of your vocal style, which we'll get into at a later point on doing this particular interview. But I'm just kind of curious, what about the vocals pertain to you personally? As you know, was that the instrument of choice, or did you have a first instrument that you were playing before obviously taking over the
Before
vocal duties?
vocals, my first instrument, I was 18 years old. I got a Ibanez from my mom and my cousin. At the time, I was very into new metal. So it was that whole evolution from the like Slayer, Metallica stuff, and then I went into new metal. So I was into like Korn, System of a Down, Cold Chamber, Slipknot, and that was all like 1999. And so first guitar was an Ibanez, just like the Korn boys used, and I couldn't get into playing. Like I even had like classical classes. I took a lot like guitar classes, and I learned how to play like classical style, but I like never learned my music. So I just never got into the instrument. Now I'm older now, and I could shred now, but sometimes you just need to learn what you're into, and then you could you know apply that music, that like instrument. So what happened was I actually did a tryout for this band. I forget their name, but they were like a high school band, and it was like a vocal tryout. I had never sang before, and they were like heavily influenced by like White Zombie and like Marilyn Manson. So me at that age, I was like, yeah, that's me, right? And I was like singing about like violent things, and what do you call it? They didn't like my lyrics, but you know it was like my first tryout.
Sure. What was that feeling of obviously, you getting up to the microphone for the first time? You're probably a little nervous.
Mm.
You belt out this thing. Who are you trying to emulate around this time? The Morticians and Cannibal Corpses,
I
or
wasn't into that yet. I was into Max, what do you call it, Cavalera a lot, like heavily, like so it was like a little bit of like his like singing style, you know, like Soulfly and Sepultura, and then little bit of that whole like White Zombie stuff, like some Marilyn Manson with some some new metal stuff, and I tried to growl, but I wasn't, and that happened when I met like very close friend of mine later on.
okay, let's go to like the 2000s if we can. I know you were in a band called Terrorism, and I'm just kind
Yes,
of curious the formation of that, and was this your actual first original project, as formulating a band for you?
yes, it was. We used to hang out with these friend of mine, and they had a vocalist who had just like left them, and they were more like a grindcore band, and so they asked me to try out because like whenever I would answer their phone calls, I'd go, "Hey, what's up?" You know what I mean? Like all like, "Brr, how you doing?" You know, over the phone, right? And he's all like, "Dude, you know, we should have him try out." So I went to rehearsal studios up by what was it, Santa Fe Springs, and I made the band. And they didn't have a name yet, so I had like this list of names which I was like naming, and so we ran with that. And we were more of like beginning. We were like grindcore band, almost like Unholy Grave, and then and then I like slowly added my influences, which was more of the gore grind stuff. And by the by the end of that, we were more like politics and gore, you know. And yeah, go ahead.
Sure, sure. Well, around this time, because the name I wanted to ask, obviously, about the origins, and around this time, with 9/11 happening, I know the
Yes.
band had formed, in the early 2000s, so that word was kind of everywhere.
So we had just formed in August, and then we played a month later our like first house gig, and then it happened, you know, the whole like 9/11 stuff. So my we call it bassist at the time, he calls me, "Hey man, our name is all over the news," and I'm like, "Whoa, you know, this is not good though." You know, this is all bad press. Like, you know, this is horrible. What happened to all these people, you know, in our country?
Absolutely. Did it affect you? And in saying this, what? How come the name wasn't changed around this time, or did you just kind of just say fuck
Because
it?
no, because we were actually very political. So we would like in my like lyrics, like I would like talk about immigration, human rights, 9/11. We had about World War II songs. We had you know, just everything, and everything was open. You know, I could like um, talk about things that we were into at the time. You know, coming from grindcore scene, right? We were all like in college at the time. You know, getting our BAs. Drummer was what do you call it, about to become like a scientist. So it was cool. You know, I was young and it was cool for that time, for that era. But I
Was this when you and not to get you off, but I kind of want to gravitate towards um your first recording and entering a studio for the first time, and kind of that environment that it provided for you.
That was awesome. That we actually did on analog, I guess, like reel to reel, and it came out great. You know, for that era. You know, you always want to like modify things after they're done, but I see it like that's like a, you know, like a what do you call it, moment of that era. You know, that happened when I was that young or that level. You know, and yeah, you know, you don't want to edit it really because then you're like erasing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But what was in the initial reaction to this particular recording though? Did you guys end up releasing it on
Yeah,
like as a demo or a
we actually
CD
did a
or
split. We did a split with Unholy Grave with that era, with those songs, those like four songs, and cover art was made by me. I drew the cover. Me and the bassist released it. So half and half on like my label, and then half and half on his label, and then that's how I learned what it was to run a record label, and I learned how to you know, I'll be like, hey, whoever in any, you know, you want to trade, and then boom, you know, we made about how many albums did we make? About like 1,000, and they were gone like in 2 months, bro. They were sold out.
really?
Yeah,
So
trading.
okay, so physical media was still, the happening thing around this particular
Yes,
time.
because like grindcore bands or you know, they like wouldn't make CDs or cassettes. It was only vinyl, and it was like very underground at the time. And our music wasn't on like digital media. There wasn't any of that yet. You had maybe like Napster where everyone was like robbing music left and right, or like LimeWire. But our stuff was all by trading. Here, man. Check this out, right? Mixtape idea again, right? Here you go.
So let me ask you real quick on the grindcore scene. I want to touch upon this, where how different is that specific niche or that specific community compared to the rest of the metal community? Like,
It's different, brother. Like, uh metal, we're a family. I'm gonna say metal, we are a family, and I don't want to diss anyone or anything about like any scene because I love all scenes, right? I love like reggae scenes or metal, punk scenes, grindcore scenes, ska scenes, all of it. But with us, metalheads, I feel that we actually help each other out. Be it with like, hey, why don't you come play with us? Or it's more like a collaboration. But grindcore had it as well, though. You know what I mean?
so was grindcore, obviously it's more kind of punk based. Do you think that that attitude comes from that specific community, the punk community, as opposed to, you know,
Very, yes, very. Like grindcore is punk, and then gore grind is like more the metal aspect of it. So if you like mix metal and punk, then you have grindcore, right?
right, but I'm saying the
In essence,
attitude of the punk way kind of infused itself with grindcore, is
yes,
what
it
you're
does.
kind of saying.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yes. Whereas maybe we're more open like to listen to like glam or like classical stuff, or you know what I mean, just different genres.
Interesting. Now, how long did that you get kind of like fed up with that whole that whole kind of mentality, where like people not helping each other and not, I mean, did it deter you from wanting to even play grindcore around,
Uh,
the early
you
2000s?
know, we continued writing, man. Like we were playing house gigs for years, all over LA. You know, we were playing a lot. And then like we were like recording, so we did a split with Hemorrhage. Then like we did a split with Lividity. We did a split, like a lot of splits, brother. And then I was of age, 21 finally, right? So let's go play bars. And so we started playing a lot of bars, and our like music evolved into that more gore grind. So then because my like influence, or all of our influence evolved, right, over the years. And then it was like, hey man, check out Hemorrhage, check out Lividity, fucking Rompa Prompt, Tu Carne. So we like began to mix those elements in, and that's where the doctor also came out. You know,
Sure, we'll get to that, but I wanna not to cut you off here, but I kind of want to know. It seemed like the bands were working together, but are you saying that like the fans weren't, or is it just because you did a lot of splits? Grindcore is particularly known for like doing a lot of splits with other bands. So
yeah.
was it the bands that were working together and not the overall community?
It's just different, brother. Like it's I guess maybe is death metal guy, gore metal guy, and I like wanted to play more brutal stuff and more like fucking Discord Mexico or like Discord San Diego, like a mixture of both. And it to me it was just not, it wasn't like cutting it. And yeah, it just was not cutting it for me.
Sure. So let's move forward to like the mid, 2000s, and what was the scene around this particular point? Obviously, we're talking about Los Angeles County, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me if I'm
Mhm.
wrong here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was the community like around the 2000s for you personally? What did you start to see happen around Los Angeles around 2005, 2006, 2007 era?
Well, I noticed all these little cliques, like, you know, death metal shows only, and now it's only grindcore shows, and now it's only black metal shows, and now it's only, you know, porno gore shows, and me, I felt like I we weren't playing those shows anymore, you know, whereas like before, like we like opened up for like Rod and Sound or up in the valley or like when we went to Houston and went to Dallas to play over there, and we headlined, and it was who opened up? It was insect insect warfare, and Pretty Little Flower open, and they were amazing people. They just treated us like royalty, drove us around all over Texas. I had like they had like a place for us to stay and stuff, so it was cool.
Absolutely. Now let's move forward to, the disbanding of terrorism and you're, kind of stepping away almost from the community. If I'm not mistaken, again, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe like, you know, after there was like a what 6, 7 year gap from you
Yes.
returning to essentially fronting a band. So I'm kind of curious what you were doing in between this particular time period.
Okay, so we did all these splits, we did all these shows, and we were a full-time band for 8 years, like nonstop. And drummer was leaving, right, going to Berkeley. I just needed a break because I was exhausted. So I asked for my break, and then like here comes a new lineup, and I was like, what just happened here? You know what I mean? And I don't know, like I was bitter. I left the scene for a while. You know, my daughter was little, so it was like, okay, I'm gonna raise, you know, have some more kids, finish my degree, and then once I had my career, I said, you know what, now it's time to um, form a new band, and more how I want to play, or how I want to sing, more in my style, more of
Sure.
my influences. So I went out there and I recruited.
Absolutely, which we'll get to, but I kind of, if you don't mind me kind of taking the reins a little bit right here and just ask you about Disembowelment Records. And I'm just kind of curious, what is one thing that you kind of took away from, you know, f- from doing the record label and applying it to, your band in question, which Goreatorium, which we'll get into or whatever. But what is the one kind of important aspect that you applied and learned from running a record label?
Get your music out there. It showed me how to trade, how to make contacts, right, all over the world. It's yeah, like anyone could like make a CD, but then what do you do with it? Is it going to be in your garage for 10 years because like the only play, you know what I mean? And back then, like we didn't have a website, or none of that. I would have my distro at the shows, right? And I had all my music there, and that like really helped me with Goreatorium, how to like self-release everything, how to make my own layouts, how to contact artists or this and that, you know, how to make our brand new shirts. Plug in right here. With my daughter's artwork. Remember?
Totally.
Yeah, it was our single. So it like really helped me a lot. In the beginning, I would actually make my own shirts. You know, one color shirts, and and you learn. Our cover was just gluing, drawing, gluing, right, cutting, you know, resizing it so it fits the cover, right? Xerox machines, and now it's all like Photoshop, right? I learned how to do Photoshop, you know.
Obviously, uh, when coming back into the community, you said that you were recruiting and whatnot. Did you use some of the same contacts that you had back in the day, or did you kind of just start to go out to shows and kind of pick and be like, well, that's a good guitar player. Let's see if we can kind of collaborate a little bit and then make it work from there.
That's exactly what I did. I went to shows again, and I never stopped going to shows. You know, I'd be like at Judas Priest, or I'd be at Iron Maiden, or Heaven and Hell. You know, but I like began to appear like at local shows because I was looking for people.
And what
At,
were you kind of looking for?
I was just trying to meet the right people, just almost like trying to meet a brother. You know, someone that we could just vibe together. You know, so and that's how I did my recruiting. I actually met a lot of people that way.
And let's just go, the typical journalist bullshit question where, the Goreatorium. Can you give me the story of the kind of some of how you came of about the name and whatnot, and what does Goreatorium mean to you personally?
Well, the name happened. So can I go back before this? Because there's like history
Sure,
before this.
sure.
So I met my drummer while working at Home Depot. He's wearing a mortician shirt, and I'm like, okay, dude, I need you in my contacts. I just wrote his name down, right? I go, okay, I am not gonna call him until I have a guitar player who's ready to come in. So I was at a Voodoo Glow Skull show, man, and I was in line, and Jorge was ahead of me, and as was I, right? So I was like, "Hey, how are you?" I like used to play in this band. Then he told me that he like used to play in Kabak from El Salvador. I said, "Great. How about we all meet in my garage for like you know, a little like jam fest, right?" So then I called over, and then like we all meet in here, and we jammed at one time, and from there it was, I don't know what it was. It's just, I guess we weren't it yet, it wasn't it, not yet, right? So then I like ended up at a wrestling show, and that's when I met my close friends Rob and Lincoln, and then I asked them, "Do you have anyone who plays guitar?" They're like, "Yes, we do. We have this guy named Rex Mosley." I go, "Okay," and he's actually gonna move into East LA probably tomorrow, and I was like, "What? Okay, let's just bring him in." So we were in here, and I was playing horror movies. I was playing Burning Moon, and that's how um that's how our what do you call that song? Purity came out of that, right? From the Burning Moon video, and then us just rehearsing in here. Yep, that's it. And
Absolutely.
from there, he would rehearse every week, and it was like, okay, we need a name. So then I just went into my book again, and I was like, what about this name? What about that name? What about Leviathan? You know, what about? And then it was, what about something with gore, right? All right, okay. How about something that is like a auditorium of gore? Oh, okay, Goreatorium. And then Rex is like, yeah, but what's his name has like a museum up in Vegas called the Goreatorium, with no A. And I go, well, ours has an A, so it's not the same. And it's almost like what do you call it? Um, 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 umbrella, right? Where like you can have all this kind of like extreme metal music, right? You don't have to be only just like one genre. Like you could play like brutal, or like you could have some black metal riffs, or like you could have some porno gore riffs, or some gore grind, all and it all works under like Goreatorium because it's a right. It's like almost like a, how do you say it?
Yeah, it all formulates into one. It's like it fits into one umbrella. It's metal. You can do whatever you want with it.
Exactly.
But here's the problem with and I want to play devil's advocate here is, obviously this music is not meant for like the mainstream or the people that are like trying, are the typical metal fans, meaning, the 80s kind of metal heads or the thrash metal heads or something. You know what I mean? Like you're playing a more extreme version of that, right? So in in saying that, obviously porno grind to somebody sounds exactly like gore grind or this or gore or grindcore is essentially the full umbrella of everything that you had just mentioned with porno grind and gore grind. So it's like, how do you distinguish that? How would you distinguish that with somebody who kind of doesn't know that?
Yeah. See, you would have to be in the scene, in order to understand all the styles. But but remember, like I said before, there are cliques of all these styles, and my thing is, I want to just bring us all together, and it's all just one huge freaking family. All of us are a family. Of underground, music.
Absolutely. That's the most important key, that like key aspect to this whole community, I would say. You guys are more brutal style than what my band would ever do. But the thing is I think because we're people and we can click as people rather than liking the same kind of styles of music. Would you agree, disagree, or what is your kind of thoughts on that?
No, I agree. We don't have to like the same things as long as we could like communicate with each other, as long as we don't be like, oh, my like music's better than yours. You know what I mean? None of this elitist stuff. None of this, hey, my religion's better than yours, or my like political party's better than yours. Like, no, you don't need it. You don't need any of that. You are who you are. You like what you like. I don't care. But as long as we can communicate and not like hate on each other over like whatever we like or dislike, you know, then it works, right?
Well, would that doesn't that create the bigger picture though for our community, and rather than it being these little cliques, we all can kind of be a cumbersome and just all fit on one umbrella. I'd much rather think that that would be more beneficial to our community rather than having all these fucking cliques
Mm-hmm.
that go nowhere, right?
That cool nowhere.
Because we're only as good as like our weakest link, and we have to work together. And I just feel with the grindcore scene and the more extreme styles of that, it's kind of it's very clicky than what I would like it to be. And I'm just kind of curious for you. And my apologies if I offend you with that whole spiel right there, but it's like, how do we get everybody involved and feel like we're one family rather than me versus you and you versus me kind of attitude?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. That's why I go to all shows. I support all music. You know, like we have to help each other out. We have to support each other, or else you're always gonna have these cliques around, and it's always gonna be the same people at the same show every time. And it's no, we have to support each other.
Well, yeah, but we have to grow, I think, is my main gripe with the whole. And I love grindcore, okay? I'm not saying I don't, but that was my whole gripe with that specific community. You know, when I would play these brutal death metal shows, there was only brutal death metal or die kind of vibe to it. And it just,
Yeah.
that's only a certain niche audience. It's like
Yes, it is.
it feels like
And and the ones which I really love playing are those like mixed like genre shows, because then it's like, you know, your band is not like any other band there, and it's a lot of new ears who have never heard you, and they're just in awe, like, oh my, who are these people? How come I've never heard of them? Blah blah blah. And us too, right? We're we're in the audience as like fans, and like we're doing the same thing with all these other bands who are playing. It could be like power metal, it could be whatever it is, and as long as you're into it, you're head bobbing, then like you just hooked me. Like, let me buy a shirt. How could I support?
That's the right mentality to have, right? So let's branch off of this real quick, man. Goreatorium, you started in 2014.
Yeah, right here in this garage.
Absolutely, right? You established a name, you get, the spelling, that you want of it. You got your guys all situated. And then you released the Purity single
Yes,
here. And I'm just curious, was this the first actual like, song you guys had written during
yes,
this time? Okay.
that was the first song we ever written in here, in this garage. Uh, and then so it was me, Rex, Jesse, and Elliot. All right, and then we got Jorge again. Right, remember he was the first one who tried out in here, and so he came back with us, and so like we were a 5 piece, and that one we recorded with Jorge at his house, and that was amazing. And then we started playing shows everywhere after that. You know, we started playing with like Vader, and then we got asked to play with Internal Bleeding, um, Cattle Decapitation. We started playing a lot of shows with Jason Tyler. Like he's the one who like gave us our first show at the Black Light District, and then with me just being at the local shows now, I was like, hey, I'm in what do you call it, this band, do you have any shows available? So then like we started playing with like Blood Scribe after that, or you know just a lot of bands, local bands, and even like older ones who I like used to play in like my old band, um, Tasumal, and now we're playing again together. So it's like a crazy circle, right? Um, 20 years later.
Now you released the Purity single, and I'm just kind of curious what how important it was to kind of package it like this. I mean, this looks like a legit fucking release, and it's a single. And so I'm kind of not used to seeing a single kind of have this much effort put into it. So was this one aspect of from learning from, owning it and running a record label?
Yes, it was, and that was like me, like, you know what? We could only release quality over quantity, right? Like, make sure that whatever we release is like the most fucking sickest art, or the fucking craziest layout, the fucking limited to whatever it is, and just go all out, go and do whatever that you never fucking released before, because remember, before I was only doing fucking 7 inches only, be it a split or be it a full length. I had never done a CD in my life, so that right there was my first CD, and then I said, let's just go all out. um my um my friend Rob, he's the one who did the layout, and um he did fucking layouts for Slayer and for Brujeria up at like Nuclear Blast. So it was an honor to have him make our layout for I would call it homicidal ideation as well.
Interesting. And was there a huge kind of buzz when this specific single was released? Did you start to get a more momentum, more publicity, more radio play, more things that you hadn't kind of accomplished in your career as of yet doing this whole you know um, release?
Yeah, like after that we also we did this like, what do you call it, homemade like music video from a rehearsal studio, but like we like played that song on it. So and that like really helped us like to get more shows and more name out there. And then after that we just focused on writing our album, Homicidal Ideation.
All
Yeah.
right. Which we'll get into, but I'm curious, did you start to tour around this particular point?
Yeah, well, we were just playing twice a month, like nonstop, 3 times a month, be it locally, be it OC, Long Beach, you know,
Oh, so
the Valley.
you were really kind of almost oversaturating your own brand around this time just for a
Yes,
single.
yes, because we wanted to have others see us. You know, uh, we are not a internet band. We are a live band who also record music. You know, and we like really wanted people to get to know us. So we had this one up in Colton, California. Like an hour away, and everyone in there is like a huge freaking supporter, and that is only from like one show, man. Like that just opened up like this whole audience, you know, um, and that's where like we met like David Miner and so all of them. So all of his like little clique or group, began to follow us, and then it was cool. So the more you play, right,
Mm-hmm.
the more like audience gets to know who you are, right? Because like they meet you in the at the distro stand.
But the thing is if you oversaturate your brand, I mean, it's like, doesn't that harm? Obviously, doesn't that kind of harms you if at a certain point too? Correct. I mean, why not go out and tour instead of playing locally 2 times or 3 times a month?
All of us have a career, you know what I mean? So we're only available at nights, or like we're available weekends. So we can't just leave and go, all across the US for like 2 weeks or like a month, like we can't do that stuff, you know. But we could do these local shows. We could go like Las Vegas for the weekend, or like we can go to Lancaster, or boom, 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 you know.
Sure. Well, I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, there's a lot of logistics involved, right? With formulating your decisions on where to play and how to kind of promote this thing.
Hmm.
And I'm just kind of curious for you being a late bloomer with the internet kind of, obviously I kind of grew up more with the internet than say you. How did you learn to utilize the internet more with this whole aspect? Instead of touring, you utilize the internet more with promoting yourself.
Like it all like began with the first band, and I would go like on MySpace, or I would go like to different we call it record labels, and I would look up labels, and then I would find their contacts, their emails, or I would look at my own CDs and look, okay, which like label made this, and then like let me email them this. Hey, here, let's friggin' make a trade. Boom, 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 and that's how I build my network. And now it's easier. It's internet, all these like social media platforms have like really helped, you know, reach even more audiences, or more like labels. Like, look, like we're having this radio show online right now. I'm in my home and you're in your home, whereas we're like not in the same room. Like my guitar player, he works for Jam Kazam, and sometimes me and him will do these like online jams, with the app, and I could hear him and he could hear me playing guitar. And like what do you call it, we just work on riffs, so it's awesome. Internet had just opened up this whole metal world for us, right?
Sure. Now let's go to your essential first full length. And I know it's only like 19, 20 minutes, but it's still considered a full length, I guess, in a grindcore sense, right? It's very punk
Yeah,
rock.
right.
Now
Come on, like you could have like 100 songs, and then like your album is like 10 minutes. grindcore, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Just ask Last Days of Humanity, right?
Yeah.
So let's go to the homicidal ideation release and just recording it for you. How different of an experience was recording the full length for you as a vocalist compared to just, obviously you gotta have your stamina and whatnot, but compared to just releasing a single and whatnot, how did you prepare for this release differently?
Okay, so I had already done a lot of those grindcore recordings. I think it was like eight. I bought like eight splits and then like one like full length. There, I forget the number of whatever it is, right? So it's about like I don't know how many songs. Like probably like 40 songs, for that band. But longest one was like under freaking 2 minutes. Like nothing was over 2 minutes. Now, with this new band Goreatorium, we have songs that are 3 minutes, that are four. You know, some of them are two. Um, Lyrics are way more freaking intricate than the last band. You know, and it's an evolution, right? So I go in there just ready. You know, I already had all my lyrics done. I knew already patterns. I knew vocals which I was gonna use for this album. So I loved it, man. I loved the experience. We did it at the morgue up in Inglewood with Christopher Garcia, who is he's like known for like um his band which is gore metal, right?
Now let's talk about getting the artwork together. Is this obviously your vision of it and or your actual artwork, or did you kind of want to hire and go outside of the band per se to do, to work on a legit full length album cover?
So at the time, before I began Goreatorium, I was reading heavily like Garth Ennis books, and then at the time he like created Crossed, right, which is about this like virus where you like get like a red cross on your face, and then like fuck, you commit all these evil acts, which like you feel and think inside of you, right? And I got into this book, formed a band with like ideas of that. I even like brought that into the stage when I play, right? I like always paint myself with that red cross, because I am crossed, right? I have the virus, right? Um, and so reading this, I saw this artist, right? And like his name is Raulo, and I actually reached out to him, and he was just livid because he's also a death metal fan. So send him the music so that way he can read it. I mean, listen to it. So he had this image where it was a man like ripping his head out, and then he had all these people moshing in a pit, right? And they were all gonna commit these acts of murder. And I liked the drawing, but I was like, no, I need more than this. So I told him what I wanted. I told him, look, draw me the guy. He's a butcher, but he's having all these, he's at work, but he's having all these ideas. Maybe he just hates his boss, or he hates his life, family, friends, whatever it is, right? And he has all these ideas. So then around him, you have him wearing this mask, right? This death, this made of flesh, right? A mask of flesh,
Yeah,
like
like a
I
like a
got
leather
here.
like a leather face or Ed,
Yeah,
Ed
you
Geins
know what I
or
mean.
yeah,
So he has his uh he has
his mask of
flesh
flesh.
mask,
Yeah.
his flesh mask, right? And that's what helps him to commit all these murders.
Interesting. So he kind of feels invincible having the mask. It's kind of like a different persona or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And what is the initial reaction when when the record gets released?
The artwork, the music, the layout, the the booklet, we get all these like comments, and all of us are also fans of the music, so it was like, never in your dreams, right, could you like believe that you could make something of this like quality, you know and it's like, wow, it is brutal, but yet it's catchy here and there, you know what I mean. It everyone likes different songs off the album, and I'm like, okay, all right, did we hit something here? Because it's almost like all of these clicks are like, hey, I could hear some grindcore in that song. Hey, that sounds like a black metal riff. Hey, that's some brutal death metal with homicidal ideation. You know what I mean? Cannibal Cop is like, oh, some Cannibal Corpse, right? Some like influences here and there. So everyone likes it for different reasons.
Sure, and it just pertains to, this album can probably pertain to more than just the traditional grindcore or traditional gore grind or whatever it is. So obviously having those elements is a huge benefit to a band like such as yourselves. Especially with a lot more bands having the name gore in their specific said name. So it's like kind of sets you apart a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Um, Now let's go to kind of what you guys are doing now. And I know you just released the mighty single here that I have in my hands, and obviously you're wearing the t-shirt there with forensics, right?
That's right.
Now tell me a little bit about, like, this specific single, and again, putting a lot more effort into it than say people would on a full length record. I mean, this is a legit work of art that I have in my hands, or that you're kind of wearing. So just talk to me about the whole concept of this.
Yeah, and it's a digipack. you know, Singles are usually just digital, or they're like these CDR booklets, or they're the little, little envelope,
Slipcases. Yeah, little
right?
slipcases.
A little pocket. And I said, nah, we need to up this again. Let's make a digipack. Why not? Right? Like, so inside cover, Raulo, right? Outside cover, my daughter made the artwork for me. Um, Logo, uh, Rob helped us with that color scheme. Uh, and So this song we call it wrote it when Audie joined the band. So so Jorge left, Rex left, and then we had Richard from like Die Messiah. So we had him for about, I want to say, a year, and he like helped us write I Follow, you know, which is also going to be on the new album. And then he leaves because he he goes and does his single stuff, right? And who by the way is playing today at the Dog Hut. And then we get Audie, and Audie helps us write Forensic, which is that has his own influences with like my own influences, and you know we make this song. And I decide, okay, I am like not gonna sing in English on this one, because I want to sing in my in my like native language. And then I said, okay, and loved it. I love that song. And then I said, wait a minute, it needs an intro. It needs something like Hemorrhage's, first album, where like all these organs playing, right? Very like gore metal. So I have this friend of mine. His name's Fester, and I got him to make us the intro.
And of course you release it, and it's available now. Where can people kind of locate this specific release? Obviously you know, it's absolutely killer. I highly recommend people go check it out. So where can people find this
We
specific?
have that one on Bandcamp. We only have a few left. Or if at our like next show, then you get it off of our distro. Yeah.
Now, is there something else in the works? Are you guys working on a new full length record at this
Yes,
time?
we have a new one. It's called Murderous Ritual Frenzy, and it's out in on Halloween. I already have banners made, um, posters already here, layouts. I made layouts for digipack. I have layouts for cassette version. I have layouts for hopefully one day the vinyl, but we'll get there, right?
Sure,
I
sure.
gotta like slow down because it's a lot of work, making all these layouts. And Raulo again, he worked on the artwork. um I've been like slowly, if you like go to our IG, you know you could see like little images forming of it. So it is insane, that artwork.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Well, Dr. Death, I really appreciate you giving me a couple minutes of your time to, tell your journey and whatnot. And I highly recommend people go check out Goreatorium, especially if they're into the heavier style of metal. The more extreme, the more gory and grindy kind of vibes. Obviously,
Yeah,
you'll dig
yeah.
Goreatorium, but you know, obviously you
Come see
mentioned.
us at the show. You know us. We do a full show with props, heads, torsos, banners. You know what I mean? And if you ever see us out there in the real world, we are very friendly people, and we just want to meet you guys.
Well, Dr. Death, really appreciate it once again. And another episode of Popper's Corner, guys. We're out. Cheers.